Welcome into 49ers Access, and what a win for the San Francisco 49ers. It's a short week. You're banged up. You got to go on the road. You find out within 30 minutes prior to kickoff, your number one cornerback's not going to play the game. You're in Seattle, a place that has been a house of horrors for your team in the last decade and a half. And what do? You put up 36 points. You get the win with your back against the wall. You finally get some big plays from your big name stars. And more importantly, yes, you get the win. But now, as of today, as of this Victory Friday, the San Francisco 49ers are tied for first place in the NFC West. And to that, I said, who would have thought we'd be here right now after how this season began? This was a massive, impactful win for San Francisco. So many big plays from players stepping up in this one. And look, it cannot be understated, again, how important this game was for San Francisco. The threat of being 2-4 on the road with the Chiefs and the Dallas Cowboys coming up next on your schedule, it was looking very doom and gloom. This game was very much a tipping point in the season for San Francisco. They get the win. They're back to 500. The defense, I thought, was the MVP in this game. The defense came to life with, again, a lot of their players injured. We'll dive into what Kyle Shanahan changed to help improve the offense. The red zone efficiency was back up. We'll dive into that. We'll talk about Brock Purdy and this 2024 draft class stepping up in the biggest moments. So let's talk about the good, the bad, and not ugly, the pretty from San Francisco's week number 6 win in Thursday Night Football over the Seattle Seahawks. It was their first divisional round win this season. They are now 1-2 in the NFC West. It was their first conference win of the season, having lost to the Vikings, the Rams, and the Cardinals in previous weeks, now beating Seattle in this one. It also was an opportunity for San Francisco to get right. It felt like whenever San Francisco seemed to get back on track, they got derailed relatively quickly. Yes, there was a point in time in this game where it felt like we had seen this game before, right? We had seen the Cardinals game. We had seen the Rams game. There was a stretch of play where it was like, is this going to be the exact same outcome? I think it was 23-17. It was like, well, you lost to the Cardinals 24-23. This is setting up to be that game. And that's why this may have been the perfect storm of not only, again, does San Francisco have to go on the road in Seattle, NFC West opponent, short week, no Javon Hargrave, no Talanoa Hufanga, no Dre Greenlaw, no Charvarius Ward, no Christian McCaffrey. You also had the exact same situation in which you blew a week prior. And San Francisco said enough. We are not going to blow this one. There was so much desperation in play calling, how the defense played. You can tell San Francisco felt their backs against the wall. They felt like if we don't get this one, our season, our playoff hopes might be out the window. And the way they played from Jump Street was like that. Very first drive for Seattle, Nick Bosa is everywhere, gets that big pressure. Mustafa gets the pick. And although the offense took some time to get going, you had some big runs by Jordan Mason for a 38-yarder in the first half. Deebo Samuel, 76-yard touchdown. George Kittle's touchdown in the second half. A lot of big plays from the big stars of this team. So let's talk about the offense, because I thought that the biggest criticism I saw from Kyle Shanahan, that wasn't just in the red zone, it was throughout the entirety of the offense, was simply fans saying, Kyle, run the damn ball. And in this game, Kyle Shanahan said, fine, I relent. I'll run the football. The San Francisco 49ers ran the football 33 times for 228 yards in this game. It was the most rushing yards in a game for San Francisco since 2019 against the Carolina Panthers. That's right. Funny enough, that was the first Nick Bosa interception game against the Cardinals last week was the second. So San Francisco definitely took a turn. They signed Braden Willis as a fourth tight end to the active roster. While he didn't play in this game, you can tell there was a clear effort to get back to their identity, run the football. There was a lot more play action in this game, which we talked about in the preview podcast, that yes, San Francisco had to get back to play action, especially against Seattle being one of the worst play action defenses in football. You saw the vast differences in the offense. There was rarely these Brock Purdy 7-step drops on back-to-back-to-back plays. And again, although there were some dry spells offensively, the offense looked much more looked a lot more like the 2023 San Francisco 49ers, albeit minus Christian McCaffrey in this game. And within that same stat, right, 33 attempts for 228 yards, they did it with not just a star running back. Again, they didn't have CMC, but they did it with Jordan Mason, who got hurt in this game. And they had to continue to run the football with Isaac Guerendo, a fourth-round pick this year, Patrick Taylor Jr., a special teamer. It wasn't like they had their first-string running back, and for the second half, didn't even have their second-string running back. That, to me, is more impressive, or it shows how much more impressive the running game was. The offensive line on the ground was phenomenal. Dominic Puni has just been incredible so far this year, but in this game, excellent, opening up holes in this one over and over and over again. We always know follow Trent Williams. At this point in time, it's like follow Dominic Puni. He's opening up holes and gaps for Guerendo, Mason, and Patrick Taylor Jr., who I thought was really impressive in this one. I also want to dive into in regards to the running game being a massive change and improvement for San Francisco. San Francisco ran 21 personnel. So again, getting back to who they once were in previous years, 21 personnel, which is it's 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and 1 tight end. They ran that set of plays 47% of the time. And in those plays in which they ran 21 personnel, 317 yards and 2 touchdowns, the most by any team since 2016. When they ran 21 personnel, massive yardage, 2 touchdowns, but also had a success rate of 61%. San Francisco, can they sustain this? Time will tell, but at least in this one, there is a clear, concerted effort to getting back to their identity in this one. And it wasn't just, at times. It was, no, from the get-go, we are going to make an effort to rekindle where the offense was the last couple seasons, because the first 5 games this year has very much been a drop-back, pass-heavy offense, which has not who they've been. They can win that way for sure, but it's going to be much more inconsistent when the defenses know it's coming, like the Vikings, and when you get behind. So I loved what Kyle Shanahan did in this game. We have a comment here on the YouTube chat from Everyone's Worst Nightmare saying, congrats to the Niners. They won. That's all you can ask for. I liked your stream. Have an awesome day, Sterling. Have an awesome day back to Everyone's Worst Nightmare. He also says running Mason was to weaken the defense, is good for Isaac Guerendo. The speedster can burn them late in the game. It's a perfect combo. Within that point, well, I wouldn't say that was a main thing they were trying to do. That's what happens when you run the football. You tired out an opposing defense. Late in the game, they're exhausted. They can't keep up. Then you can gash them for big plays late. That's who San Francisco was in previous years. It's not who they've been this year, which doesn't make a lot of sense. Thankfully, in this game, we saw a reversion back to who they once were. So a massive, I guess you could say, pivot by Kyle Shanahan to say, you know what? Things aren't working. Let's go back to what works. And he did. And it was awesome and it worked. You won by 12 points. And a lot of people have been saying that this win's not impressive. They weren't sold. And while, yes, there were some plays that, had they been different, wouldn't have gone San Francisco's way. A DK Metcalf touchdown was negated by a penalty. Definitely a big turn in this game that could have put Seattle closer to taking the lead. and plenty of other plays to go along with that. But San Francisco scored 36 points in Seattle. The last time they've scored 30 plus points in Seattle was 2008. The last time they scored 36 plus points in Seattle was 1988. So I get it. There was a dry spell of the offense in this one. Things could have gone differently. Every game usually has points in that. It's the ebbs and flows of the NFL. But San Francisco put up 36 points in Seattle, and they haven't put up 36 plus points since 1988. So if you're not sold, I get it. This team has definitely proven to not be the most consistent bunch, but it's a heck of a win. And in week 6, when your season's on the line, you got to get a big win. And San Francisco got a massive, massive win in massive fashion, if you will. Like San Francisco walked in on the road and said, you know what? Enough's enough. Shout out J-Lo. We're going to win this game. And they did. Scored 36 points on the road. Big, big win for San Francisco. Niner Media says, hey, Sterling, what's up, Niner Media? We will dive into Brian Schneider in a second. But yes, Brian Schneider, I'm hoping he was left on the plane or left before, at the airport because, my goodness, special teams continues to be a disaster. I'm moving along here in my notes. I want to talk about Brock Purdy because Brock Purdy just continues to be stellar. The Cardinals game wasn't his best. A couple turnovers. There's been some times this year where even in his good games, there's been some shaky stuff. But for the most part, has been playing, I think, his best football in this game. He had a 64% completion percentage, 255 plus yards. If you include the scrambles, over 270 plus yards. He had 3 total touchdowns and a QB rating of 129. It's the 8th time in Brock Purdy's young career where he has over 250 passing yards and 3 touchdowns in a single game. It was awesome. Was it perfect? No. Couple of throws I'm sure he wants back. Couple of throws I'm sure he wished he would have made. But overall, he was hitting big plays. And yes, this offense definitely wants to clear up those big dry spells, mainly in that second half. You want to be more consistent. But they were putting their foot to the floor for the most part in this one. They were getting vertical. They were getting big plays, running the football. And I think, Brock, I think was as precise as he's been for the majority of the season in this one. Some notable throws were that 76-yard touchdown pass to Deebo Samuel. It's a play that you probably wouldn't want to make 95% of the time, but Brock played it right. He drops back, he angles his body correctly, gets his feet under him, and kind of waits for Deebo to leak out to get open, bang, pulls the trigger, and, could that ball been picked off? Maybe, but it wasn't. I'm not going to sit back and say, it could have been. Sure, it could have been. A lot of things could have been different. It was a nice throw on the money. We talked about coming into this game. Let Deebo Samuel get involved in the offense. There was an effort to get him involved early, which hadn't been the case the last 2 games. So it was nice to see them say, you know what, let Deebo carry us. And Deebo, by gosh, caught that ball and he was off to the races. It was over. Like, as soon as that ball was caught, Julian Love was like sprinting down to either pick the ball off or make a tackle, whatever he was trying to do. He overshoots it, and it was like, Deebo's gone. It was like, you're not going to catch Deebo. Nobody catches Deebo. And it was over at that point. That was one of the big plays by Brock Purdy, the first touchdown of the game for San Francisco on their 3rd offensive drive. Then coming out of halftime for Brock, 3rd and 3. You're in the red zone. You got to score. I think this was Brock's best throw of the game. When you have to throw, I don't think the common person realizes how far it is sideline to sideline. For as good as Jimmy Garoppolo was, for as successful as he was, limitations for him were certainly throwing it deep and throwing it sideline to sideline. He was an over-the-middle kind of quarterback, which is fine. You can win that way for sure. But Brock has the ability to throw in the middle, deep, and sideline to sideline. He hasn't, the arm strength isn't perfect. It's not Mahomes, Allen, Lamar Jackson, Burrow, but Brock has a plus arm. And to be able to fit this ball to George Kittle, on the right sideline near the pylon, right past a Seahawks defender, on the money, on timing. He was locked and loaded. Hike, step, boom, precision. It was a rocket. It was a dart. And you're like, hell yeah. Like that is an elite throw by so far this year, an elite quarterback. It was like that team needs this. It was one of those get the monkey off your back in the red zone kind of plays, which red zone was much better in this one for San Francisco's offense. Again, wasn't perfect, but it's hard to be perfect in the red zone. And that score there put you up 23-3. You had a 20-point lead. That's how important that play was. And later in the game, you're up not by a lot. You're up, what was it? I'm trying to think. I think you're up 23-17, right? The game's kind of in the balance. Your offense has to score, and Brock again on 3rd and 4 finds Kittle again over the middle for a touchdown. So the Brock and Kittle connection is alive and well. And I think Brock was great. And to kind of give you a bigger example of how good he was in this game, the legs were on display early, running around, scrambling for first downs. Even when those plays didn't result in points, Brock was still making plays. The offensive line didn't help him early in this one, but he was under pressure. Not a lot, but 14 times in this game. And when he was under pressure, he was darn near perfect. And I think when you're on the road in Seattle, which is one of the toughest places to play for a still young quarterback in Brock Purdy, for a team that's been shaky, an offense that has not been consistent, that has struggled to even put together 2 consecutive, plus plays, Brock was 9 for 14 under pressure, 159 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, and a passer rating of 142.6. When Seattle brought the blitz, when Seattle got pressure, when the offensive line failed, when a quarterback is supposed to struggle against pressure, when the lights are the brightest, prime time, again, in Seattle, which surprisingly had a lot of red and gold in those stands. That is the most fans of the Niners I've seen in Seattle, probably ever. But that said, Brock was phenomenal under pressure in this game. And I think more importantly, didn't turn the ball over. You play a clean game, like Brock for the 2 picks he threw against the Cardinals, just 4 days later, threw no picks and threw 3 touchdowns. Like it was the exact opposite of what that game was like against the Cardinals, where, you have this big lead and then the offense is getting shut out. The offense did not get shut out in the second half at all in this one. The offense led by Brock Purdy in this game, they scored 20 points in that second half. So that was a massive, massive big win for the offense to, you know what, like we're tired of losing. We have to score some points in the second half. And Brock Purdy was a massive part of that. I thought Jordan Mason, for as healthy as he wasn't in this game, was really good. I mean, Jordan Mason walked into Seattle, which we knew wasn't a great run defending team. He only had 9 carries, but he had 73 yards. He had 8.1 yards a pop, had the massive 38-yard run early in the first half. Just San Francisco got what they wanted because they dominated the line of scrimmage. That is who San Francisco has been in previous years, who they were last year. It's how they've won games in the past. And I know this team is 3-3. The expectations have not been met so far through a month and a half of the NFL season. I get you. People were saying, fire this guy, fire that guy. People were jumping off the Kyle Shanahan bandwagon, which, okay, he's done many things to make you want to do that and done many great things to make you say, I'm back on. But this is a pivotal game. You can see that, for the first time this year, San Francisco had kind of rekindled that magic. But more importantly, an offense that when they looked themselves in the mirror, didn't know who they were looking at, didn't know who they were. Are you a drop back passing offense? You haven't been. You can try it. This was a, I guess you can say reversion back to that stuff. But I thought Jordan Mason was great. Isaac Guerendo stepped up massive in this game. Guerendo, it's so funny too, because I'm a massive Isaac Guerendo fan. You can go back and you can watch my mock drafts during the draft season. I was all over him. Like, this guy is great. You're going to want to see him. The injuries are there for sure. He's had a lot of issues staying healthy. I think he never had over 130 collegiate rushes in a season. So a lot of reasons to worry, but man, like, uh, this team needed him in the biggest way. And when Mason got hurt, my first thought was, oh crap. Like, everything you've been doing that's working, running the football, playing 21 personnel, Mason just bruising through Seahawk defenders. Like, when he went out, I went, okay, all that goes out the window. Is Kyle Shanahan going to trust the running backs he has? And while Grenda wasn't great in this game, he definitely struggled to a point of Patrick Taylor got a lot of carries, which I don't think Shanahan wanted to do that. That said, like, if that's how you're going to respond, and you're going to walk into Seattle essentially getting a second half start as a fourth round pick, and you're going to go 10 carries for 99 yards, and you're going to have a 76-yard run to kind of put this puppy away, which, get in the end zone, please. But that said, if you've slid, if you got to tackle, whatever, like, this is a massive game, and young players stepped up. Grendo at times felt like it was trying to put a square peg into a round hole. He just couldn't find the gap, the hole to run through. But my goodness, man, like, you go back and you watch Grendo, if you were there in training camp, to week 1 of the preseason, then to week 1 of this year, is a much better player, where his play style fits what Shanahan wants big time, but what he can do physically. People always compare him to Raheem Mostert. His run he had in this game, 76 yards, funny enough, was the longest run by any Niner player since Raheem Mostert against the New York Jets week 2 of the 2020 season. So if you want to keep your similarities up there, Garendo certainly has got himself in the same category of Raheem Mostert. The speed's there. He's got the build, and to stay healthy. Grendo's always banged up. That's his biggest kind of Achilles heel. And to walk in and play an amazing game, like, great, good job. I thought Patrick Taylor, for being this team's essential fourth running back, I thought he stepped up in a big way. You know, especially late in the game in the red zone, he had 5 carries, 16 yards. That's not going to jump out to you, but when Mason goes down and you already don't have Christian McCaffrey, to get 16 yards and 5 carries off the bench and get 3.2 yards a pop and kind of give Garendo a break to give him the gas to finish off that big 76-yard run. Like, it's big stuff. It's really, really big stuff for San Francisco to have guys you can go back and trust. And I think that is one of the biggest stories of this game. Lori Matthews says here on the YouTube chat that short week, hostile environment, banged up team, you put up 36. Now get healthy and stack some wins. You're right. You're right, Lori. Niner Media says here, Grendo has improved every game in college. Even when he came to us, he was slow to hit holes. Definitely still slow, but you can tell the more comfortable he gets, the better his vision will be, and the more he'll learn to trust it. That is a massive problem with young running backs. They don't trust that the hole will be there. Young quarterbacks too. Kyle's like, just trust where things are going to be. If those guys don't do their job, that's on them, and I'll correct them, but hit the holes and you're going to be fine. The more Grendo plays, he'll definitely learn that. But this game, I think the biggest through line is players stepping up when they likely, or when they're not supposed to actually be playing. Malik Mustafa, we already talked about. Hufanga goes down, you get your first start, which you walked into this year as the 4th safety on this team, and you already surpassed George Odom as the number 2 strong safety and number 3 safety on the entire roster. You get your first start, and the first drive of the game, they get you get a big interception. It's a massive play for a young player in big moments. And then you go to the offensive side. Isaac Grendo, obviously, we already talked about him. You can dive into even Darrell Luter Jr., right? So Charvarius Ward can't play. He's injured. Crap. Renardo Green comes into play, which he was lights out, locking dudes down. Everyone's nightmare asks here about Green. Did you think Renardo Green should be starting after him playing well against Metcalf? I think Renardo Green deserves to start over Isaac Yiadom, but I mean, best case scenario, I think is what everyone should want, is that You have Mooney Ward back to full health, back to his form last year, locking things down on his side. Lenore goes back to playing nickel or playing outside, whatever he wants to do. He's locking locking dudes down at that. And then Green, a young player, gets to get the reps he needs because in 1 year's time, Mooney Ward's probably not going to be back. But they're very similar players, him and Mooney Ward. So am I shocked Green played as well as he did? No, but he was phenomenal. But that is to say, like, take that. So our first instant reaction is, who's going to be taking Travarius Ward's spot? Then on like the third drive of this game, San Francisco scores some points. I think they're up either 6-0 or 10-0, whatever it was. They get a big kickoff. And Darrell Luter Jr., who hasn't been active all year long, his first game of the season, first action this year. The only reason why he's active is because Travarius Ward can't go. Green takes Ward's spot in the starting lineup. Luter gets active to take Green's spot on the bench. He gets a big fumble and forces a fumble, gets San Francisco the ball back. They get a field goal, and you're like, heck yeah, man. Like, the guys that aren't supposed to be making plays are making plays. This team needs young players to step up. We all talked about when the draft came and went of like, this is the most important draft class for San Francisco. One reason to carry them into the next wave of hopeful success. But I look at the way San Francisco's young players stepped up in this one. Mustafa with the big pick early. Green gets kind of the massive pick to give San Francisco the ball back and steal momentum back from Seattle late in this game. Darrell Luter Jr., Isaac Orendo, Pooney's been great so far. These moments, my mind goes back to last year when Hufanga tore his ACL against the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers attacked Jair Brown immediately after. Gives up a massive play, and you're like, uh-oh. But that moment allowed him to learn later on, because then you fast forward to February in the Super Bowl, guess who picks off Mahomes at a halftime? Now, San Francisco didn't score on that drive. They lost that game, sure, but it's moments like this where young players get prepared for bigger moments down the road. So in a perfect world, Hufunga's healthy, Greenlaw's healthy, Travarius Ward's healthy, Christian McCaffrey's healthy, yes, but the people that have taken their spot, the young players that have gotten the playing time in Seattle, Lumen Field, bright lights, prime time, when those guys step up, it only makes them more prepared for bigger moments down the road. So I loved it. I mean, how can you not? 2024 draft class put their stamp all over this game. And while they didn't single-handedly save San Francisco's season, when two of them get takeaways, Bethune gets the fumble later in the game to kind of put this one away guaranteed, then you think Ricky Pearsall is going to practice this week, and you're like, oh my God, San Francisco is inching closer to full health. Maybe in a few weeks' time, they get Christian McCaffrey back post-bye week, and at that point, maybe you've beaten Kansas City. Maybe you've beaten Dallas. Things look kind of ugly early in the year. It's not perfect now. You have to get better, sure. You have Mahomes in 10 days. It's not going to get any easier, but this was a massive stepping stone into fixing many of the issues this team has had. The 49ers 2024 says, what's up, Sterling? Hope all is well with you. I'm not going to get too excited over one win. We still have to beat the Chiefs. And that's kind of where I'm at, right? You live in the now. You kicked the crap out of Seattle. You scored 36 points, the most you scored all year long. Your offense looked like it was kind of turning a corner and getting back to who they once were. And the defense looked the best they have all year long. So, and in that process, you get to bury Seattle somewhat. They've lost 3 consecutive games. DK Metcalf looking like a fool out there. Just great stuff. So, yeah, it's one win. Don't overreact, but a really, really, really good win to hopefully steer that ship back to where it needs to be to take on a team like Kansas City, who has, I know they're undefeated, but like have not been playing great football. Like they could have lost a lot of those games they played. In fact, probably should have lost many of the games they played so far, but they haven't. Wouldn't it be perfect if Ricky Pearsall comes back, Mason gets healthy, and San Francisco gives the Chiefs their first loss of the NFL season? Wouldn't that be something, right? That feels like a lot of what San Francisco is dealing with I think it was the 80s, where they couldn't get past Dallas. They lost to him in the playoffs, beat him in the regular season, then beat him in the playoffs that year. So it's all, of course, wishful thinking, but man, wouldn't it be something? It'd be really, really fun to watch. Moving on in my notes, I see your comments. I'll get back to those in a second, so stick with me here. I thought Deebo Samuel, we kind of already hinted at this. He had 9 touches in back-to-back games combined. So 2 games, 9 touches walking into this one. I'm not sure if you watched the halftime show. Usually I don't, but Richard Sherman said that during the halftime show, Deebo and Kyle had a meeting of getting Deebo more involved in the offense. And one, I love that. It means that, hey, things aren't going right. Let me put this team on my back in that, in this game. After 9 touches in 2 combined games, Deebo had 7 touches, 117 yards, that massive 76-yard touchdown pass to kind of get the ball rolling for San Francisco's offense. So I thought it was a good game for Deebo. Second half wasn't as good. You can tell that Seattle changed their scheme, how they wanted to play against Deebo. And some of the things they tried weren't working for San Francisco's offense. But when you see 7 touches, 117 yards, a massive near 80-yard play for Deebo, you can tell there was a concerted effort to get him involved early. Again, we talked about feed your stars, let them carry you. In that first half, it was a let Deebo, carry us. And he did. That's what you want from your stars against Seattle. George Kittle as well. Kittle was clutch Kittle, if you will. 5 catches, 58 yards, 2 red zone touchdowns. This team has been looking for answers in the red zone. And on a 3rd and 3 and 3 and 4, George Kittle answered the call. You need guys like this. You need to have a connection. Mahomes and Kelsey are deadly in the red zone. Let's make Purdy and Kittle deadly in the red zone. I love they are scripting plays for Kittle. You have mismatches. Use them. When Aiyuk's not going to be a big factor and Juwan Jennings ain't going to be a big factor, you got 2 other guys in Kittle and Deebo that can eat, that are hungry. Let them eat. Again, that first touchdown was perfect. Kittle to get his feet in bounds. If you're on Twitter or X, you can see the picture on the Amazon Prime account that they have for last night's game. It was just perfect. It was an amazing play. Kittle has been money for this offense. And to just show you how great Kittle has been, in 13 games against the Seattle Seahawks in his career, George Kittle has 56 receptions, 808 yards, and now 7 touchdowns. George Kittle undoubtedly has the lease to Lumen Field and the Seattle Seahawks. Like, he's in that owner's box, kicking back. Claire Kittle's there. Kyle Juszczyk's there. They're diving in the seats. They're having these celebrations. Like, George Kittle owns the Seattle Seahawks. And there was a lot of questions of this game. Okay, how was a Shanahan offense going to scheme against a Mike McDonald defense that, albeit doesn't have the personnel the Ravens did last year, kicked the crap out of a Shanahan-style offense in 2023. They put up 36 points. It was like San Francisco's offense didn't really have a hard time scoring in this game. They were getting downfield left and right for the most part. And big-name players make big-time plays. Deebo and Kittle were the definition of that. Wasn't much to discuss about Brandon Aiyuk. Was kind of, I guess you can say, let down by him, but much better in the blocking game from him. You can tell when San Francisco reverts back to running 21 personnel, a lot of the time, almost half the time, the receiver stats aren't going to be as high. You're not going to see a 12-target game, 8 catches, 175 yards from Aiyuk or Juwan Jennings like it was against the Rams. You're going to see, high PFF grades, great run blocking grades, but low receiving totals. That's kind of what it was for Brandon Aiyuk. It wasn't a massive play. And even on Deebo's touchdown catch, Aiyuk was kind of the decoy of that route. So not a massive impactful game from Aiyuk in the box score, but a pretty nice game in regards to impacting the game on the ground through the running game and also being a decoy on certain plays. And I think even later in the game, Purdy found Aiyuk for like a 21-yard catch. They didn't score, but it was a really nice play to get the offense kind of sparked. But my main, I guess you can say, issue, if you will, on the offensive side of things was the offensive line. Niner Media had a comment here. I want to find it. Was that San Francisco needs a new center and right tackle badly. I think McKivitz and Brendel were better late than they were early for sure, but Jake Brendel early was just a freaking disaster. It was like, holy crap, like nightmare, like what the F is going on? Like, I put on Twitter, I cannot wait for John Feliciano to come back. He needs to be this team center because it was the second drive of the game. You got the big pick. You couldn't score early. The game's kind of okay. How's this game going to go? You're feeling things out still. It's 3rd and 2, a very manageable 3rd down for the offense. And it looked really funky at first until you saw the replay. It was like that incomplete play action. Purdy moves up in the pocket and tries to jump pass to Kittle. It didn't work, obviously. It was like a weird play. They show the replay, and I get center's a hard job, but like Jake Brendel hides the football, and it was like, I don't even know who was on him. The guy that was against him was in the backfield, and all you see is Brendel like scrambling to get back like a Scooby-Doo villain. He's like trying to get back there, and you're like, oh my God, like, how'd you get beat that bad, man? Like, the guy's right in front of you. There was no stunt. Like, you just ran right past you, and you're like, that's a 3rd and 2 early game drive, first half where you're kind of getting momentum, or you want to put some together and Brendel just gets beaten and whiffs a block, and you're like, oh God. And then you're up later, you're up 23-10. Okay. Seattle gets that big kick return. Okay. Which in itself is a whole other talking point we'll get to in a second. They get the big kick return, your offense gets back on the field, and Purdy getting hit finds Aiyuk for 17 yards. Great. The offense is making plays still. They're going to re-answer Seattle's answer to San Francisco's answer, right? San Francisco makes it 23-3. Seattle scores, makes 23-10. San Francisco going to answer that. And you're like, oh man, like this is going to be great. Nope. Holding on Jake Brendel. And you're just like, can we please get another center in here? Brendel's a great guy. Good story. Vet, was in Miami, came over with Chris Forrester, replaced Alex Mack, and was pretty good in his first year. Like, there was very little complaints about Jake Brendel in his first year as a starter. It was always, I think it was 2nd team All-Pro. Great. He has fallen off the cliff this year. It has been terrible at times where, okay, you don't have to be a great center. Be average. Be an average center. And I think when it's all said and done, it was a much more average day for him. But early on, in some pivotal plays, it was just like, that can't happen. 3rd downs, big plays getting called back for holdings. And then Aaron Banks, who we learned later was having to get IVs because of cramps, which cramps suck. You ever get up out of bed with the Charlie horse? Yikes. You're like, oh, straighten your leg. Ow. I get it. But there was a screen early in this game to Kyle Juszczyk in the red zone. And you can see Kyle Shanahan is livid because Banks doesn't get out fast enough. The defender gets around him and it lights up Juszczyk. And all you see is Kyle Shanahan's lower half. All you get is like the white Nikes, the white Jordans in his pants. He's like kicking the grass. You can see kind of, some of his hands being flung up, and you're just like, well, he's pissed, and rightfully so. It's a massive play in the red zone. You have to go for a field goal. So Banks, I think, was the worst offensive lineman. Give up 4 pressures, I think. But Williams was great. McKivitz was actually decent in this one, surprisingly. And Dominic Pooney, just phenomenal. Has not given up a single sack this year. He's been great. 3rd round pick has been just money. Been freaking money. The red zone issues were, I won't say fixed, but you were 3 of 5 in this game. You were near the bottom of the NFL in red zone efficiency coming into this week. at I think 45%, you left with a 60% total. So a much, much better red zone. You have the Kyle Juszczyk touchdown late. You have the 2 Kittle touchdowns. Well, yes, you want to punch the other 2 in for sure. Any team will take a 60% in the red zone. It's like, yes, I will take that every single time. And then you hope once you get Pearsall and McCaffrey back, those numbers continue to grow from 60 to 70, or as high as they can be with those guys on the field. So the red zone was much better. Still some issues, still some stuff. I will say this though, in the red zone on Kittle's second touchdown, I think it was 3rd and 4. I was shocked Shanahan did not run the football again. I was saying, run the ball, make it a 2-score game. If there's any time for Shanahan to be conservative, it was that moment. And he said, nope, we're going to pass it here, go for the kill, and they got it. And it's like, okay, like that is the confidence you need. And this is a team that, just feels like they have played back to back to back long postseasons, right? But it's 3 NFC championships and more because of last year. You have guys out, like your team just kind of gets tired. You get bogged down. Brock has played in back-to-back long off seasons with the 2 playoff runs, the UCL injury. And granted, he's young, but sometimes guys are just exhausted and tired. Trent Williams is like 36 years old, for God's sake. So it's not like, to me, it feels like this team is just kind of ramping up, which you wish that wasn't the case because you should be, you should be 5-0, should be 5-1 maybe. But you're not. But it feels like there is an upward trend starting to happen. And while, yes, many of you in the comments may say, they got to beat the Chiefs. They got to beat Dallas. And that's right. Nothing is given. You have to go in there. You're back at home against Kansas City and Dallas. You get to defend your home field in front of your home, your crowd, the faithful. This is a perfect opportunity where everything has been up and down roller coaster ride, inconsistent. Just like, why can't we pull things out? You beat Seattle. I think this team's most hated rival, not named the Dallas Cowboys. You get to play the team that has beaten you in 2 Super Bowls and your own place this next Sunday, or I guess in 10 days from now. You beat them. That's 2 monkeys off your back. You can finally beat Kansas City. And you beat Dallas too. Like, this is a really good chance for San Francisco to beat all their demons in a 3-game stretch, which it ain't been perfect so far, but for as bad as it's been, things can get really, really fun in the next few weeks. You got to win. You got to prove it. But this game, I think, was an upward trending game for San Francisco. But let's go to the defense for a second, because the defense to me was the MVP of this game. They got 3 takeaways, and they got 2 pivotal takeaways. But more importantly, we talked about coming into this game that the Seattle Seahawks wanted to reestablish the run any means necessary. 7 total runs against the Giants. They lost that game in kind of, I don't want to say humiliating fashion, but a blocked game-tying kick. Not the greatest way to lose a game. That said, Kenneth Walker had 5 carries in that game. It was a very what is the offense doing? They wanted to get back to running the football, very similar to how San Francisco had to get back to running the football in 21 personnel. Knowing that the Seattle Seahawks wanted to run the football down San Francisco's throat. You don't have Javon Hargrave. You don't have Jordan Elliott. He didn't play in this game. San Francisco held Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker to 52 total yards on 19 carries, and the longest run of this game was for 9 yards. That's a heck of an effort by players like Nick Bosa, who was great in every facet of the game. Pass rush, pass coverage at times, run defending. Malik Collins was really good. Evan Anderson left this game as the highest graded player per PFF on both sides of the football. That's an undrafted free agent wearing the Guardian cap, coming in clutch for you. Stopped the big quarterback sneak late in the game, which didn't end up mattering, but still a nice play. Leonard Floyd was like the defensive line. Your back's against the wall. You don't have one of your starters. You don't have your third best edge rusher, Nitro Gross-Matos, on IR. You're playing undrafted free agents, and you held the Seahawks, who weren't afraid to keep pounding the rock, to 52 total yards. That's a heck of a job. The tackling wasn't great, but Kenneth Walker is like one of the best running backs in football at yards after contact. So you know it's going to be a fight. Short week, like that's kind of a given, but I thought it was a heck of a job by San Francisco's run defense. This is the best they looked all year. It was week 1 against the Jets, just shutting Breece Hall down, which doesn't look that good in retrospect now because Breece Hall's done nothing all year long. He has tanked my fantasy team, but I digress. In this game, they were great. They were just phenomenal. They were putting Seattle in 3rd and long all day because of how good the run defense was, which is what you want to do against a team like Seattle. Get up early, get him on 3rd and longs. You're going to force Geno to have to make plays. And Geno, for as good as he's been this year, he's not going to make plays. I don't care how many yards he has. First in football with passing yards. The most yards combined, passing, rushing, receiving. The 6th most rushing yards. Respect, brother. That said, I want you to have to beat me. Geno showed he just can't do it at times. My friend, who is a Seahawks fan, texted me and said, "Do you want Geno? We don't want him no more." And I was like, brother, you see that boy out there at 13? That's an MVP on the rise. You can maybe the Browns will take Geno because Deshaun Watson's been so bad. That boy Purdy out there cooking fools out there, making that secondary look like dog, you know what. And it wouldn't have mattered had Chen the Wushu been healthy. If Reek Woolen was healthy, it wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered. Brock was great. Geno was subpar. In many big moments, force Geno to beat you. He just can't. You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy. That's an old meme, but I'll take it here. We're having some fun. The pass rush was really good. They had I think they had over 20 pressures in this game. Nick Bosa had 14. Nick Bosa, we have talked long and hard about Nick Bosa, former defensive player of the year, how he's got to step up. Your defense has not made these massive plays late in games. When the offense can't score, the defense has to answer, right? The defense has to play bend, don't break, and vice versa for the offense. When the defense ain't stopping the opposing team, you got to score some points. We finally kind of saw, it wasn't perfect. We did see this cohesive effort from both sides of the football for the first time this season, which was really, really fun to see. But Nick Bosa was wrecking shop. It didn't matter who it was. Charles Cross, Stone Forsythe, great name, terrible tackle. You watch it and go, there's a storm coming, and you just can't stop it. Like, Nick Bosa made that right tackle want to quit. That's how bad this was. First drive of the game for Nick Bosa, 3rd and 5. Geno drops back, gets the pressure, overthrow right into Mustafa's hands. Bang. It's a massive play. Like, plays like that, where Nick Bosa, people are going to say, oh, he didn't have any sacks, but the sack numbers aren't that good. I don't give a you-know-what about sacks. Nick Bosa changed this game almost every drive for the Seahawks. San Francisco 3rd downs were caused by Nick Bosa. Late in this game, scores 23-17. Seahawks have the ball. It's getting testy. We're all sitting back, biting our nails like, this is the exact same game it was last week. Is this going to happen again? You're like, oh my God, who comes to save the day? Nicholas Bosa. 3 consecutive plays, 1st and 10, incomplete screen pass to Noah Fant. You want to know why? Nick Bosa reads the screen, drop backs into coverage, holds kind of Fant a little bit at the line of scrimmage, doesn't let him release, incomplete pass. Great play. The IQ was there. It was awesome to see. 2nd and 10. Okay, next play. Zach Charbonnet gets stuffed. Nowhere to go. Who's there? Oh, the man with the shrug, Nicholas Bosa. 3rd and 10. Massive 3rd down. Got to get off the field. They go no huddle, trying to catch your boys napping. Nick Bosa, like the defensive player of the year he was, almost gets the strip sack. Words are hard. Almost gets the strip sack. Almost sacks Geno Smith. Gets the pressure. Makes Smith have to throw the ball away. Massive play. Forces a punt. Gets you the ball back. And you're like, yes, yes, yes. That is a game changer. That is what you're paying Nick Bosa for. It may not be 3 sacks. May not be, but it's 14 pressures. It's game-changing plays on 1st, 2nd, and 3rd down. Nick Bosa got a 3 and out by himself. I don't want to hear, but the sack totals weren't there. Who cares? Who cares? He had 14 pressures. He made tackles look stupid. Nick Bosa was God-tier Nick Bosa in this game. Wreck and shop. I mean, he led this defensive line like he's supposed to. He was awesome. Awesome in this game. Clutch play after clutch play. 3rd downs being forced. 2nd and longs being wrecked. Nick Bosa was the most important defensive player in this game to me. He was causing turnovers. He was almost getting turnovers. He was forcing punts. Green's pick was great. Mustafa's pick was great. Nick Bosa was the most important defensive player on the field by far in this game. He was incredible. He was phenomenal in this game. Fred Warner, who has been the best player in the league on the defensive side of the football, wasn't his best game. But he did force a fumble, which wasn't recovered by San Francisco, but did force a fumble, right? But I think more importantly, what he did in the first half was by far more important than what transpired in the second half. It's 3rd down and 3. Seahawks have the football. 3-0 game. You're leading. Seattle's kind of starting to creep. They're getting momentum. Things are looking dicey. They're going no huddle. They're going screens. They're starting to move the football. And it's like, okay, this is why you got to score points when you get to the red zone. San Francisco didn't do that. Now it's 3-0. Should be 7-0, but here comes Seattle. 3-0 game. If Seattle picks this up, it's probably a score. It could be 3, could be 7. Who knows? The drive continues nonetheless. But Warner, who is being blocked by a defender on a screen it's Devondre Campbell and Warner playing linebacker. They're both being blocked by Seattle offensive players. Warner pushes the guy off and it's forces his way to stopping Kenneth Walker, which it seems like Walker had 20 free yards to work with if he got past Warner. It looked like there was not going to be a stop there. Fred makes an amazing play, gets the stop, and everyone goes, "Ooh, did you see that? That was a defensive player of the year kind of play right there." Forces the punt. The very next play for San Francisco's offense, boom, 76-yard touchdown pass. Purdy to Deebo. You're winning 10-0. It was a game-altering play. Would it have changed the outcome? Who knows? But that's a play where you don't want to find out, and players like Fred Warner make it so you don't have to find out. That's how good Fred is. It was a phenomenal play. The biggest highlight for him by far. Where there was good at playing linebacker, there was also some bad. I do want to find the comment here. I think it was by Niner Media. Yes. He says Yadam and Campbell both need to be on the bench. I thought Isaac Yadam was much better in this game than he was in previous weeks. That said, I get what you're saying. You get Ward, Lenore, and Green out there, probably a more cohesive, better unit as a whole. The upside is certainly higher with that, but I want to focus on Devondre Campbell because, oh my God, how many times do we have to watch this dude blow coverages, miss tackles? I'm not kidding. The very first play of the game, we're sitting back. I'm like, how is San Francisco going to start this one out defensively? Short week, guys are banged up. Okay, how does the defense answer? Are you going to make a statement? The very first play of the game, Campbell blitzes, clearly reads the play out, like sniffs it out. He blitzes. He's in the backfield. It looked like he was eye to eye with Zach Charbonnet, has him dead to rights, and just lets him run right by him. Okay, cool. Hate that, but okay, cool. That very same drive, which, yes, Seattle didn't score, but the very same drive, 3rd and 6, Devondre Campbell is in coverage. It's him and Fred at the first down marker. They are there to make sure anything underneath doesn't go for a first down. Fred's to the left, Campbell's on the right. They have their zones. Be patient. Let the play come to you. Take your man then. Take your zone then. Metcalf just runs this little drag route over the middle. He goes past Fred, and Campbell's like, oh, I see him. And he panics. He's like, I have to react. He moves to his left, and then Metcalf keeps running to his right by him. Geno says, thanks, pops it right to Metcalf for 30 yards, which was Metcalf's best play of the day. But it's like, Campbell, if you stay in your zone, that doesn't happen. And then later in the game, while he wasn't beat too much, Seahawks saw, hey, Campbell, dog crap. Let's go 5 wide. Let's put running backs one-on-one with him. My wife and I were watching the game together. She was on the couch. I was in my chair. And I kept yelling, I don't like that. I don't like that. They're going to get burnt. I don't like that. And while it didn't crush San Francisco, what's funny is they end up benching Campbell during the game in the second half. Seattle's doing screens, no huddles. They're going 5 wide. They're exploiting his below average pass coverage skills. And they bench him. Put D. Winters in. It's like, hallelujah, throw a party. Devondre Campbell isn't playing. Hoo-wee, put me in church. Call the pastor. Like, oh, we're having a great time. Oh, man. Then they put him back in. It's like, Nick, you took him out. The Band-Aid's off. Just don't put him back in the game. I'm hoping San Francisco's defense goes, you know what? We want the athleticism over the maybe good run stopper. Devondre Campbell has been terrible. I have not liked the signing at all. I didn't like when it happened. I didn't like when it was in camp. I mean, it was just nightmare fuel. Every game, there's something. Every game. It didn't burn them in this one, but it's just like, gosh, man, just stop playing him. My goodness, stop playing him. He's so bad. So bad. I will never call for a man to lose his job, but if there's an unemployment line somewhere, I want Devondre Campbell at the front of it. He's been terrible. Terrible. So bad. Let's move on to better things because there's no reason to focus on negative things right now. I thought San Francisco's secondary was phenomenal. Again, the Mustafa pick early was great. He got hurt, which sucked to see, but he said he'll be okay. So fingers crossed that's the case. Big play by Mustafa early. I think that, and I've said this for a long time, by the end of this year, he will be this team's best safety. He's so good. College, he was great. Great tackler, great in coverage. He can be that roaming safety if he has to, but also he can tackle like a you-know-what. He's got ball skills. When it's all said and done, Hufanga and Jair Brown will look up at Malik Mustafa. That's how good this kid can be. And of course, great play to begin the game for San Francisco's defense. I thought Deommodore Lenoir was locking dudes up left and right. I've said for a long time, he is this team's best cornerback and has been for a long time. My goodness, Lenoir has been phenomenal. Whether it's Metcalf or playing outside, playing nickel, Lockett, JSN, he erased a lot of Seattle's secondary, their receivers. Seattle couldn't really pass the ball in this game. It was no verticality. It was really small stuff. Geno Smith passed the football 52 times in this game. 52 times for 312 yards, 2 picks, and 1 touchdown pass. Lenore was great in the red zone. They targeted, I think it may have been JSN and Metcalf on back-to-back plays. And it was like the corner fade route, and Lenore broke it up both times. It was like, yep, he's just locked down in pivotal moments. It's like, heck yes. Like, Lenore is on his way to an all-pro season. That's how good he's been this year. Many of you in the comments have been talking about Renardo Green, and rightfully so. Let me see if I can find the comment here. Renardo Green, let me see if I can find it. Renardo Green will be taking Ward's spot. Isn't Ward a free agent next year? Yes, he is. I think the expectation is that Green will take Ward's spot on the roster next year. Very similar, albeit I do think San Francisco wants to maximize this year, and hopefully we get to see a fully healthy Ward, Lenore, and Green playing together. That is San Francisco's best unit, and it has been for the most part this year. Everyone's worst nightmare asks earlier in the show, hope you're still here, asks, do you think Renardo Green should be starting after him playing well against DK Metcalf? Well, I'll tell you this, Renardo Green wasn't just good against Metcalf. Green was locked down against Lockett and JSN. When guarding DK Metcalf, 3 targets, 1 reception, 8 yards allowed. Against Tyler Lockett, 3 targets, 1 reception, 9 yards allowed. And on Jackson Smith and Jigba, 2 targets, 1 reception, 18 yards allowed. Quick math here. That is 8 targets, 3 receptions, and what's 35 yards allowed. That's pretty good. First career start, and you shut down DK Metcalf, you shut down Lockett, and you shut down JSN. All 3 of those guys are good players. And let's talk about DK Metcalf more importantly here, though. 11 targets, 3 catches for 48 yards. 30 of those yards came on the first drive of the game for the Seahawks. I mean, my goodness, those muscles he has are aesthetic only. He plays so soft. He gets frustrated so fast. He's calling the booth, hey man, you gotta get me involved in the offense. And the offensive coordinator's like, get yourself involved. You roided out freak. Like, my goodness. Like, you watch this game, he's pouting the whole time. He's pouting from the first drive on, getting locked up, just pouting. And I put on Twitter, because DK used to wear the mouth guard that was a pacifier, he was playing like a baby. You know, wah, and I'm getting the ball. Wah. Like, you're a grown-ass man. I get it. You want the football. You think you're a star player. Star players play like a star player. DK against San Francisco has been erased. He's one of the easiest receivers to get under his skin. He's one of the easiest players against San Francisco to erase. The last big DK Metcalf play I can think of was last year at home against Seattle. The very first drive of the game, I think it was. It's Metcalf lined up across from Ambry Thomas. He beats him, touchdown deep. Guess what? The rest of that game was nothing. Mooney Ward has locked up DK twice in a row. DK has just been this, I have muscles. Those muscles do absolutely nothing for you. If you're going to run piss poor routes, you have Odom beat deep, and you don't work back to the football. Odom gets the PBU, which was a great play by him after getting beat. DK, sometimes it feels like DK wants the game to come to him, but won't actually be aggressive and go get the game himself. People will tell you in life, you have to go out there, you have to be a go-getter. You want it, you have to go out there and fight for it and strive for it. DK wants the ball, but never wants to fight for it. He just kind of gives up. And it's if you're that easy to get under your skin, to give up, to not make plays, there's a reason why they'll throw to JSN and Lockett more than you. Noah Fant had a better game than DK Metcalf. That shouldn't happen, but it does, because San Francisco is like DK gets in his own head, looks like a Diet Coke Dennis Rodman with the pink hair and the earring and the tattoos, but he's not physical at all. Oh, I'm gonna grab your helmet. I'm gonna yell at you. Grr, grr. What are you, freaking caveman? Do something. Don't just make noises and grunts. Like, what is that? Make a play, brother. And look, I like DK. DK has the body to be really good. I think DK, go back to last year against Dallas, DK lit them fools up. But against San Francisco, I mean, he goes from Donkey Kong to Diddy Kong. It's not good. It is like, he shrinks down to size. He's bad. It's bad. Like, I don't know what it is. And I hope for DK's sake, and even for Seattle's sake, although I hate them, like, for his sake, like, man, like, he's got to be better, more in tune in the offense, and just make better plays. Like, him in this game, like, you're getting beat by a rookie. Take that personally. He doesn't. He just shuts down. And credit goes to Lenore and Renardo Green. You see that, take advantage of that. And on Green's big interception, what'd he do? Took advantage of DK. DK kind of, it's a crossing route. Green undercuts it, gets the pick, but DK kind of starts to kind of flutter backwards and starts to kind of drift backwards in the route. If DK runs that route crisp, that's probably a catch, and it's not a pick. It's like, Lori Matthews says here, I remember when people were mad we didn't draft DK. He would never fit this group. I'd rather have 13,000 Deebos than one DK. I'd rather have Jawan Jennings than DK Metcalf. Like, DK is not Niner material, and at times, he really ain't Seattle Seahawks material either. Like, if I was Seattle, I'd be looking to trade him. The quarterback ain't there yet. You're not that great of a team. Rebuilding, kind of retooling season. Move off of him. Go get him to Pittsburgh. They want a receiver that bad. They want Aiyuk and Devontae. You give Mike Tomlin to DK Metcalf, and you're going to have a good player. But in Seattle, where that doesn't work very well, if next offseason, if I was Seattle, I don't know what their contract looks like, but I'm trying to trade DK Metcalf next offseason. I thought George Odom was good in this game. He had 2 touchdown saving plays in this game. He had one on DK again before halftime. Get the big PBU to come back and get it. I think he was this team's second best player on defense via Pro Football Focus, which, stay ready. He was not supposed to play in this game at all. Hufanga gets hurt. Mustafa takes his spot. Mustafa gets hurt. Here comes Odom. Stay ready, folks. This team, like, Odom, I think, was a massive player in this game for them. He is tied on this team in second place for pass breakups this year with 4. Not a great coverage player, but in this game, made a handful of big plays to save this game for the Niners, which brings me to special teams. What do we do? What do we do? It's a joke. It's so bad. Like, every game, there's a problem. Like, the Jets game, I can't think of there being an issue, but Vikings, it was a blocked punt. Then it was a fumbled punt by Cowing, which was recovered. Then against the Rams, it was the 4th down and the blown punt coverage, which gave the Vikings and the Rams either the game or at least an easy score. Then it was, let's see, the Patriots. I mean, there wasn't much in that game, but then it was against the Cardinals. They score a touchdown, then they get a big return. Then Moody gets the high ankle sprain. In this game, it was the 97-yard, and this is the thing. It comes at the worst moments. It's either the offense is sputtering, they can't score, at least the defense can hold them, right? No, block punt. Oh, okay. Great. In this game, you're up at halftime. Come out of the break, offense gets the ball back, you're feeling good. You score a touchdown. You make it all the way down the field. You march 70 yards downfield, get a red zone touchdown, and you're like, heck yeah. Like, we're talking We're going to lap these suckers. It's going to be a rout. The very next kick return, 97 yards. The crowd gets into the game, erases all the work your offense just did. The offense goes back out there. They can't score, and things start to spiral, right? I have in my notes, because it wasn't looking pretty for a hot second, when everything changes as the title. 97-yard kick return touchdown by Laviska Shenault. My goodness, that just cannot happen. The offense doesn't score because the Brindle penalty sets them back. Seahawks offense then marches 94 yards for a touchdown. The Niners offense then goes 3 and out on 3 straight passes. The NFL then botches that challenge. Like, this is $1 billion industry, brother. How do you not have every single angle possible? Then they say in the poll report that, well, had we waited, if we didn't have enough time to get all the angles. Wait for all the angles. Would you rather get it right or hurry the game along? San Francisco could have lost that game if, let's say, Seattle scores there. We're talking, the NFL robbed San Francisco. It's $1 billion industry. Why does the home viewer have a better angle at the review than the NFL? The heck's going on back there? I will give up the replay on my end for them to get the call right. Don't matter to me. I ain't got to see it. Get the call right. What the heck was that? I digress. Thank God for Nick Bosa getting that 3 and out by himself, but it was like the special teams unit continues to be this swaying part of the game. It is the worst unit in the NFL by far. And when they asked Kyle Shanahan about it in the postgame press conference, after the kick, they asked him, what was your thoughts? He was like, well, you really can't look back at the last 2 games. Yeah, you can. You are the worst special teams unit in football. It's cost you 1, if not 2 or 3 games this year. How do you not look back at the track record of Brian Schneider and say, maybe something's got to change? And it's not been this year issue. It happened in the Super Bowl. It happened in the playoffs. It happened last year during the regular season. Happened 2 years ago in the regular season. San Francisco special teams unit has been one of the worst units in football for 3 or 4 years running now. And they continue at the worst possible times to let other teams back in the game, make big plays, and then their kicker gets hurt again in this one. Jake Moody's already out. You have Matthew Wright, who that ball was coming off weird off his foot all night long, but he was perfect. Good for him. Then he gets hurt. He hurts his shoulder. And you're like, oh my God. All right, Jordan Mason, thankfully, is going to be okay. It's an AC joint sprain, not going to be out for too long, if at all. You got 10 days off, but you're like, God, and the second kicker's hurt. At what point do you just call Brian Schneider in and say, hey, I already packed your bags for you, brother. Get out. It is inexcusable. For as great as a win as this was, you won 36-24. 12-point win on the road in Seattle. You're back on track. You're feeling good. You got 10 days till your next game. Guys have 3 days off. They get to watch football like we do. Man, good for those guys. You're feeling good and nice. You got 10 days. You could be bringing in another special teams coordinator to get these boys ready. Brian Schneider is awful. The coaching's bad. It was an open field missed tackle. How many times does that have to happen? I get it. A player misses a tackle. It happens, right? But coaching is an issue. Guys are not schemed right and scheduled right. It's just like a whole, on punt coverages, guys are leaving before the ball's even kicked. And they're playing interior offensive line. They're pivotal on making sure punts don't get blocked. They're leaving and the ball is in Wisnowski's hand still. What is that? That's a coaching issue. Against the Cardinals, it didn't count, But Beal like runs into the punter, all nonchalant, like, oh, yeah, what my fault? It's an undisciplined unit. If Brian Schneider was the defensive coordinator, he'd have been fired 3 years ago. I mean, hell, Robert Saleh got fired and his defense is playing lights out. Why won't Shanahan make the change? They would have fired Steve Wilkes even if they won the Super Bowl. But Shanahan, I don't know what Brian Schneider has over Kyle Shanahan. But it must be something pretty big. Because for as great as a coach as Kyle may be, for as great as a win as this was, and we're all feeling good, Victory Friday, weekend, party up, Cardinals lose, sole possession in first place, we're having a good time. Boop, doop, doop, doop. You fire that special teams coordinator, I'll freaking pop bottles live on this stream right now. Like, man, I will get demonetized if it means firing Brian Schneider. Like, my goodness. Terrible, terrible, terrible. But the great stuff is Brock Purdy played one of his best games of the year. Isaac Guerrero looked relatively good, had a massive run at the end of this game. Hope Jordan Mason's healthy. He was looking good. San Francisco dominated this game at the line of scrimmage on both sides. Offense, defense. Nick Bosa was incredible. 2024 draft class was house money. Victory Friday. We're having a good time. It was a great win. You beat the Seahawks, scored 36 points in Seattle for the first time since 1998. Whoo-wee! Man, oh man, oh man. A great win for San Francisco. And hoping as we turn our heads towards week number 7 with the Kansas City Chiefs coming to the Bay Area. Whew. The tides are starting to turn. San Francisco now needs to take hold of the wheel themselves, put their foot on the gas all the way, and let's kick the living you-know-what out of the Chiefs. Get some revenge. Be 4-3. You're 3-3 now, 500. Let's be 4-3. My mind is on, let's kick them Chiefs' ass. Not being honest with you. I want to break some arrowheads at Levi's. They're on their bye week. We have 10 days off. Going to be a fun time. I hope you can get to watch every game this week. We're rooting against the Cardinals. If they lose, San Francisco is in sole possession of first place in the NFC West due to tiebreakers. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? But a very great way to end begin week number 6 of the NFL season, albeit it is the end of week 6 for us as Niner fans, but a great Victory Friday. If you can, like, share, and subscribe. Want to thank Lori Matthews, everyone's worst nightmare, the Smitty, K Crusher in the comments. Who else is up here? Niner Media, Rick Diaz, I saw you on there. If you come back and watch later, hope you're having a great time. The 49ers 2024. I'm sure Bobo will be in here somewhere later as well. Thank you all so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing, and interacting with the comment section. Tell me what you thought of this game down below. How are you feeling on a Victory Friday after San Francisco beats the Seattle Seahawks 36-24 and becomes, as of this moment, the first place team in the NFC West? You can follow us on social media at 49ers_access is the X or the Twitter. 49ers.access is the Instagram. And if you could, like, share, and subscribe. Give us a 5-star review on the audio podcasting platforms, Google, Spotify, Apple. Doesn't matter. Give us 5 stars. It is the easiest, cheapest, and freest way to help the podcast out, help the show out. And if you're tired of looking in 17 different places for your sporting news, go to sportsspyder.com. They organize by sport, MLB, NBA, NFL, all in one place. YouTube videos, podcasts, latest articles, injury news in the same place for your favorite team. If you're a Niner fan, click that link down below. Go to sportsspyder.com and give them a follow as well. And if you want to go to any game this year, MLB playoffs are in full swing. Go Padres, by the way. Screw you, Dodgers. I said what I said. I live in SoCal. I can do what I want. Go Padres. But if you want to watch, the NBA season's right around the corner. It's still kind of summertime, I guess you can say. There's plenty of concerts, and football season is in full swing. If you want to go to anything, any event, go to SeatGeek.com, find your tickets, and put in promo code 49ers Access to save yourself $20 off your first purchase. There's Bobo saying, hopefully this is the start of something special. Maybe it is. CMC back after week 10. Pearsall back this week. You never know what can happen. But my name is Sterling Bennett. And until next time, enjoy your week 6 victory. First place for now. And stay faithful.